and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kenna. Subscribe. I would love to have you here. This month is August, and August is GASTROPARESIS Awareness Month, and since I have that condition, I thought I would do a little gastroparesis Q&A to answer some questions that you guys may have about gastroparesis. So let's just get right to it. I'm excited. When looking at these, you guys actually have some really good questions and like unique questions, so I'm excited. So these two kind of go together, and I'm gonna kind of answer them together because they kind of coincide. This person says, at what age did you first experience possible gastroparesis symptoms? And then this person pretty much said the same thing. When did you first start experiencing symptoms and what were they? So this question is always so hard to answer because I feel like I've had certain GI issues and other issues like my whole life. Like I've always had an issue with like constipation and stuff since I was a baby, and then I've had different periods when I was younger where I'd be like so nauseous for no reason, and like we wouldn't be able to figure out why. Like there was this one summer before I think high school, so like between 8th and 9th grade, that summer, like the whole summer I was just so nauseous and no one could figure out why. But then it like eventually went away. So I feel like there were these certain periods in life where I had flare-up of GI issues, but they passed, so we kind of just ignored it and carried on. But I can never, it's been so long now, it's hard to remember, but I think the first instance must have been 2017. Let's see, 2017. Yeah, so the first instance that I remember is like 2017, and my main symptoms were just intense nausea, no appetite, getting full really quickly, and then that happened for a while, and then it went away, and then it came back again in 2018, and then it stayed, like my symptoms stayed. And the biggest ones were just literally intense nausea. Like I could not eat anything, the nausea would not go away no matter what, and just not being able to eat, and like bloating and constipation and all that fun stuff. But the main one for me was nausea, and if I was not emetophobic, then I would be vomiting as well, which I know that for sure. And then how long did it take to get diagnosed is another question. And once I actually saw the right doctor, it happened pretty quickly. But like I said, in 2017 we initially took the route of checking my ears because I have ear issues, so we thought maybe like there was something wrong with like my vestibular system that was causing all the nausea, because like symptoms were just odd and very just vague symptoms, and we weren't sure. So we went the ear route first, and my primary care was like antacids, and then eventually like appetite stimulants, and that's what happened first. And like I didn't even see a GI in like 2017, and by the time I was about to see a GI, like my symptoms started to improve. But then when they came back in 2018, I ended up seeing a GI in the beginning of 2019, I think. And then once I saw my GI, like the first step was an endoscopy, and then that came back normal, and then after that he went right to the gastric emptying scan. So like I think in the time that I saw like my GI, it was maybe 4 months, but in the grand scheme of things I guess it was like a year and a half. I don't know, but my GI was at the time was like on top of like the diagnostic process. So yeah, and then once I got my gastric emptying scan, it came back that I had gastroparesis. Someone asked, can you have gastroparesis and still eat and feel fine? And yes, literally, like everyone has gastroparesis so differently. It presents so differently in everyone, and the severity is different, and honestly in everyone the severity differs day by day. Like sometimes even though I am tube fed, I will eat a meal and I will feel fine. Like it honestly differs, and other days I literally can't eat anything at all. So honestly, I know it's sometimes hard to, when you eat and you feel fine, you're like, oh, I must be like faking or over exaggerating because I ate and I felt fine. But honestly, some days our GI systems just work better than others, and there's really no explanation for that. But for a while, like I did fine on medications and diet changes, and I was able to eat 3 meals a day with relatively low symptoms for a while also taking some medication. So yes, you can still have GP and eat and feel fine. It's all about just finding the foods, the medications, the portions that are like the best for you and your stomach. Someone asked, what are the biggest misconceptions? And I think after being diagnosed for 3 years, I'd say the biggest thing is that you're going to end up tube fed. I feel like a lot of people now think if you have gastroparesis, you might end up needing a feeding tube, which is not true. Yes, many people do get it, but honestly, I feel like a lot of people who end up getting feeding tubes have a lot of other things going on too that contribute, and it's just, I don't know, each person is different. And honestly, when I was first diagnosed with gastroparesis, and that was back in 2019, like April of 2019, I didn't even know you could end up with a feeding tube. Most people, honestly, I feel like it's a smaller percentage. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I think it's around like 15% of people actually end up needing supplemental nutrition in a way of like feeding tube or TPN. A lot of it can be managed with like diet changes and medications and like surgery. So what are my symptoms like during a flare-up? They're pretty much the same symptoms that I have, just intensified, and to where it seems like medication and rest aren't controlling it. Like if I eat something that I know I'm not supposed to and I get nauseous, I'm like, well, what did I expect? But during a flare-up, it's like I'm nauseous and I have no idea why. Intensely nauseous, to where Zofran's not helping, no candies are helping, draining's not helping, nothing is helping, and I'm just so intensely nauseous and I just don't know what to do. And then I also have like what I consider like fatigue flares, where my body just feels so heavy and I can't move, I can't do anything, and really the only way I can help that is just lay down and do nothing, which I hate doing, but it's what you have to do. The number one thing that gastroparesis has taught you, I would have to say, literally take things one step at a time and to really embrace little things. I know I feel like I'm speaking in cliches here, but honestly, it's true for me. If I begin to think about the future and my gastroparesis and my other dysmotility and health issues, I tend to spiral. So like literally just taking things one day at a time and focusing on the daily hurdles instead of the hurdles that you might have to leap over way in the future. And then also embracing the little things, because a lot of things have changed with my health issues in terms of like the things that I'm able to do. And I realize instead of focusing on all the things I can't do, it's better to focus on the things that I can do, no matter how small. It's like, oh, today I was able to eat a sushi roll. I haven't been able to eat a sushi roll in so long, but it's so exciting. So instead of thinking like, oh, I'm so mad I couldn't have this many rolls or this type of food that I really wanted, I just kind of focus on like what I was able to do, and that has helped me to stay more positive. Okay, so this person asked, I have gastroparesis and I was studying to become a nurse. Can you give me some advice? Okay, so if you also don't know, I did go to nursing school. I was actually diagnosed with gastroparesis and went through the whole diagnostic process and like medication testing and surgery while I was in nursing school. That was hard. That was one of the hardest things I've ever been through, and I feel like it didn't need to be that hard, but my advice is to talk to someone in your school and to get accommodations. I didn't tell anyone, and when I tried to tell someone, or I mean, I had to tell someone because I ended up with a feeding tube at some point. I was just told that I had to take out the feeding tube if I wanted to graduate, so that's what I did, and it was kind of back to how I had to figure out my own way to make it through nursing school. So talk to someone and figure out accommodations, because I didn't do that, and it was incredibly difficult to make it through nursing school and manage my health at the same time. I felt very like alone, and just really no one knew what was going on, and I just had to pretend like I was all okay, even though like I would go to clinicals and I'd feel so sick, and I would just like, I don't know, it was a lot to handle on my own. So I would talk to someone and get accommodations. What is one thing you wish people knew about this condition? The biggest thing is that it literally affects everyone so differently, and that it affects everyone so differently every day. As I was saying before, some days I can eat, some days I can't. Some days I'm taking like 6 Zofran a day, other days I'm not. I just really want people to understand that it truly just affects everyone so differently, and not to assume one thing of another person because they heard someone else say this about gastroparesis. So yeah. Oh, circling back to another common misconception. If you have a feeding tube, I feel like a lot of people assume that you can't eat on a feeding tube, but you can if it's cleared by your doctor. Literally, I hate that misconception so much, because a lot of times eating is encouraged. One, to keep your stomach working. Well, that's the main one. But some people do pleasure eat as well. I don't consider myself to pleasure eat. I eat for additional nutrition because I am able to. Some people aren't able to, but that's what I'm able to do. So I eat for additional nutrition and to keep my stomach working, because my stomach still has like a kick to it. I can tell, like I'm able to eat, so I'm gonna keep that going for as long as I can, and then hopefully eventually one day I can get off the tube. But like the only way that I am able to figure out if I can get off the tube is if I can eat while having the tube. I don't think people realize that either. Is to get off the tube you have to be able to eat enough to get off the tube, so you have to eat while you have the tube. Okay, this person asked any safe foods, and I'm not going to answer this question here because I actually made a whole video about my gastroparesis safe foods, so I'll probably leave that down below, and there'll be like a little card in there as well, like up in the corner, and I made a video of all my safe foods. This is actually a good question that I definitely wanted to get to. So what did you try before your doctor came to the conclusion of a tube? In 2019, so like, because I got diagnosed in April of 2019, in all of like 2019 I tried so many different medications. I'm not gonna be like, I tried every single medication, because I don't know if I did, but I tried a lot of them, a lot of the first line ones, a lot of the second line ones. I literally tried so many medications, and eventually I went through all of them and nothing was really working anymore. And then I started losing a lot of weight, not being able to eat much by mouth. Eventually I was scheduled for, and then I had this incident where I went into starvation ketosis, and my blood sugar was in the 40s and my body was literally starving to death. And if I did not go to the hospital, I don't know what would have happened, because my blood sugar was in the 40s and we had no idea, because why would we? I don't have blood sugar issues, but I could barely stand up, so I was dragged to the hospital. Anyways, and then at that point they had to nasal tube me because I couldn't eat and my blood work was a hot mess. So they had to tube me at that point. And then that was a nasal tube, and then like I said, I had to get that taken out in order to graduate. If things look different, it's because I just had to delete stuff off my SD card. But anyways, I had to get my nasal tube taken out in order to graduate. And then at that point, I was left to fend for myself. But also at that time, the reason we took it out is because we knew I was gonna get the G-film surgery in the upcoming months. So then I got the G-film surgery in 2020, and it was actually fine for a couple months, and it was great. But then my symptoms returned, and then after that I went back to like a different GI, and we were trying to see like if there's anything else we could do medication wise, and we tried even more medications that I never tried before, and we did more testing to see if it was my gastroparesis that was causing the main issues and the main symptoms, or if it was something else. And after tests and more medications, I ended up in the hospital again. And after like even more tests, and endoscopy and colonoscopy, and then we did a CT enterography. And I actually have this hospital stay vlogged as well, so I have a video of the series of events that happened that led up to my GJ tube. And then I did a CT enterography. It's basically you drink all this, it's like a clear liquid, and what is it called? I can't remember, but you drink this liquid and it shows up on the CT scan, and basically all of the liquid like blew up my stomach. My stomach was ginormous, and you drink this liquid and you wait like 2 hours or something. Basically after that, the 2 hours, like the liquid was just ballooned in my stomach, would not empty. So they described my stomach as acting like there was an obstruction, but there really was no obstruction. It was just holding on to all that liquid. And then my GI was like, okay, yeah, your gastroparesis is like a lot worse than I was expecting, and really the only thing that we can do right now, because of all the medications and literally having a surgery to dilate your pylorus, we just have to tube you. So then I was tubed. Oh, and the reason we went directly to a GJ tube was because of my past history of having an NJ. She wanted to do an NJ at first because that's usually first line, because you want to make sure you can actually tolerate like J tube feeds and your body can tolerate a tube and everything. And we told her I had an NJ tube in the past, I tolerated it, I really don't want to go through a nasal tube again if we're gonna just end up placing a surgical tube. And I also didn't want to extend my hospital stay even more, because then we'd have to do the NJ and I'd have to go through the trauma of having that, which I hated my NJ with all of my being. It was, I hated it, every part of it, every single part of my NJ I did not like, and I did not want to go through that again. I was like, if we're literally just gonna end up with a GJ tube in like 2 days, just do it right now. I don't want a nasal tube. I ended up having to get a nasal tube anyways, to suction out all of the, I don't know what it's, contrast, that's what it is, to suction out all the contrast, because IR refused to operate unless all that contrast is out, because they're like, I can't tube her when all that's in her stomach. So I ended up having to get a Salem, is that what it's called? I've been out of nursing school for so long, I can't remember, but I think it's like a Salem sump tube, and it's this ginormous tube that is hooked to suction. But yeah, that was my experience. This person asked, did I have any problems with my GJ tube? And the only problem I've had in the year and a couple months that I've had it is an abscess, and that was not a great experience, but honestly wasn't that bad. Like looking at things, for having my tube a year and a half and the only issue I had was an abscess for a couple months, I'm so thankful for that. And my stoma looks pretty good. My TJ tube has treated me so well, and I'm honestly so thankful for that. Yeah, I've never had issues with it flipping, the balloon popping or draining. Like literally all I've gotten are routine changes, so yay. And my abscess drained and the granulation tissue that formed around that burned off, but other than that, we're great. And this person asked, have they ever considered separate my G&J? And no, because I haven't had any issues with my GJ tube, thank goodness. This person says, how would you imagine your life without gastroparesis? I honestly don't know. I really can't answer that question, and I really don't think I want to answer that question. Despite my health issues and everything that's going on right now, I'm really happy with my life, and I have just genuine happiness most of the time. And I have found so much passion in what I'm doing, and I honestly, I feel weird saying this out loud. Like, Joseph knows this, but honestly, I don't think I had even this much passion when it came to nursing. Like, my passion is the strongest with what I'm doing now, and I feel like I'm the happiest when I'm expressing myself, creativity, and creating things, which I've never thought that I would be happy doing that. So I honestly don't know how to imagine my life without all of this right now, and I don't want to. I really don't. I mean, in a very surface level way, I can imagine how amazing it would be to be able to eat food, and I really want to get to that point. And honestly, I can't even say that because I still am able to eat food, and I'm really thankful for that. But in a very, okay, circling back, in a very surface level way, I can imagine how happy I would be to be able to eat like a normal person and to eat everything and all the fruits, and oh, I love fruit, and just be able to eat everything in normal sized portions. That I can imagine, and that I would love more than anything. But if getting that means I'm not as just genuinely happy with what I'm doing in life right now, then I don't know if I'd want it. So you win some, you lose some. So this person asks, how much oral intake are you able to do? And this depends on day to day, but on a good day and average days, I'm able to do like 2 small snacks to small meals a day of like my safe foods, which aren't the most nutritionally balanced, I do have to say. I'm usually able to have a coffee a day. Sometimes I don't have coffee. It literally just depends on what mood I'm in. Caffeine doesn't affect me weirdly at all in any way. I don't know how, but it's always been this way since I was drinking coffee before I got like sick. I've never felt caffeine affect me in any way, so I feel like that's maybe why I'm able to tolerate it, because I don't I don't know, it doesn't affect me. So I'm able to have usually like a coffee or a fun drink, so like a coffee or like a fun other drink from Starbucks, like a dragon drink, and then sips of like water throughout the day in terms of liquid. So this person asks, how long did it take you to get used to having a tube? I don't know what kind of tube you have. Nasal tube, I never got used to it. I hated that thing so much. Not everyone has a bad experience with a nasal tube, but mine was just so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. And every time I swallowed, it felt like I was swallowing like razor blades, and I felt like I was like gagging. Never got comfortable for me. My GJ tube, I'd say about 2 months in terms of like pain wise and just discomfort wise. I'd say maybe around 2 months, and then everything kind of became like second nature, where it was just like, okay, this is my way of life now. Sometimes I still just get so annoyed that I have to set up feeds, but like overall I'm pretty used to it now. Okay, this person asked AMT versus Mickey button. I'm so excited to answer this question because I love my AMT button so much more. The Mickey button isn't horrible, but like the AMT is just more comfortable. The 2 separate like lids for the G and the J, it makes all the difference, and it's flatter against the stomach. So oh, you can't see. So the AMT is like literally designed to lay flatter against the stomach. And that's more comfortable, and it makes laying on my stomach more comfortable, and I love laying on my stomach. And then some people say like it drains better than the Mickey. I think it does. I don't drain that much, so I feel like I'm not the best person to ask because I don't try draining a lot of things. I was still able to drain out of my Mickey, but I do think the AMT drains better. But take that with a grain of salt because, like I said, I personally don't drain that much, so I'm not the best person to ask the quality of the drainage aspect of the tube. Okay, this is a good question. This person asked, what can we accomplish by raising awareness? So I've always wondered this, but the reason you need awareness is, unfortunately, when it comes to research and finding treatments, they kind of allocate their time and energy and money to conditions that are, I hate using the word, okay, I found a different word. I was going to use the word popular, but more prevalent. Because it's like, oh, it's gonna help a greater number of people. So there needs to be more awareness to show like what this condition is, how many people have this condition, how it affects people, what kind of things this condition is lacking in terms of like treatment. Literally, just to get any type of treatment, medication, cures, you need awareness, because otherwise people have no idea what's going on and they won't be able to help or know how to help. So this is a good question that I can't answer, but if you know the answer, to leave down below. So this person asked, do you know any good resources to help patients heal from medical trauma or other psychological effects? I feel like a therapist who specializes in chronic illnesses would be helpful, but I don't know if there's other like better, more accessible options. If you know anything about that, leave that down below, because that is definitely something so important. Okay, this person asked, what motivated you to start your own business revolved around this? It honestly was not even intentional. After I got my GJ tube, I found out about things called tubie pads, and I'm like, oh my god, these are so cute, and I feel like it's a way to make you feel more comfortable with this thing that was just shoved in your body, because that was kind of intimidating, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I heard about these things called tubie pads, and I bought some from Etsy, and I was like, wow, these are so cute. And like prior to that, I got a sewing machine, but I didn't learn much about sewing, and I wasn't that good at sewing, so I was like, there's no way like I'll be able to make these for myself. And I truly just did not believe in it, because I'm like, this looks so complicated, and I'm like, there's no way. And then Joseph actually pushed me to try to make it for myself. And then after literally so much practice, like my first tubie pads look so awful. Actually, I think I still have them. I think I saved them. Oh, I saved a lot. Wow. So this is just made with scrap fabric, because I was like trying to experiment. Okay, these look so bad. It's so embarrassing. Okay, so these are me just trying to learn different techniques. Yeah, these are awful. And then this is eventually, oh my god, this is so bad. So bad. It's so embarrassing to look back at my old tubie pads. I try not to look back at them because I can't. But I know it just shows growth, so that's also good. So my business happened is because Joseph pushed me to try to make them for myself, and then eventually I was like learning how to make them for myself, and I love them. And around that time I was like starting to post more on TikTok just for fun. I don't know, it was just random, a way to kind of just document what life turned into. And then people showed interest in them, and I was like what? I'm like, there's no way that people would buy it. And then people really showed interest, and by people I mean it was probably like 5 to 10 people, but that was crazy to me at the time. And then I just started to kind of learn how to make them better, and then eventually I sold them, and then people seemed to really like it. So I just kept making more patterns, because an aspect of me has always loved fashion and outfits and that kind of thing. So I love fabric and designs and patterns, so I just wanted to like make more patterns and designs, because I just love fabric so much. And then it just kept progressing into, wow, people really like this. I had no idea. So then my business just kept growing from there, and then there are different things that like just kept adding on. Honestly, Joseph, I have him to thank for all of that, because one day he got me a Cricut for anniversary. Today is our anniversary, actually. I'm filming this on our anniversary, our 7-year anniversary. So a year ago today, he got me the Cricut. Wow. I've only had this for a year? No way. But yeah, he got me a Cricut, and then that kind of progressed into stickers, and then things progressed into, oh, now I have a heat press, so into shirts and TB tape, and then it's like, oh, now I have an embroidery machine, so now it's embroidered clothes. So like it was just kind of a natural progression. It was, my whole business was just I feel like a random thing that happened, and a natural progression of just wanting to create. I don't know, that's the best part of it. And the last question I'll answer is, what clothes are most comfortable with like a GJ tube? And I've actually adapted my wardrobe. It took a while to get to this point. I don't know why. For the longest time, I'd still dress like how I used to dress, and had just found myself so uncomfortable all the time, and I was like, this sucks. And then I would wear my lounge clothes, but the lounge clothes at the time I had weren't like cute, because they were just like, the clothes had wear to bed. That's pretty much all I had, because I liked dressing up and dressing cute. And then I was like, wow, this sucks. I hate how I'm dressing. I don't feel confident in myself, and fashion and dressing up and putting together outfits was always something I liked, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't like what I'm wearing. And I know I feel like that sounds superficial, but for me personally, I always feel better with a cute outfit. So I was like, you know what, I need to start adapting my wardrobe into like comfy and cute stuff. My favorite places to shop when it comes to like comfy bottoms, I personally can wear like leggings and stuff if the waistband isn't constrictive, and my favorite places are Aerie, their offline collection, and then Halara and Lululemon Aligns only. So those are my favorite for leggings. And then like I have a lot of like active shorts too, and from Aerie and from Target, honestly. And then here I actually got this skirt from Halara as well. And can you see it? Oh gosh, I'm balancing. Nope, you can't. Like, I love this little skirt, but it literally is so comfortable, but I also feel so cute. And just like oversized like sweaters and Free People tank tops are like my favorite. Yeah, and honestly, this is all gonna depend on where your GJ tube is placed actually, because what I find so cool is that everyone's GJ tubes tubes are placed in different places because of your anatomy. Like, no one's tube is placed in the same spot. Mine is honestly in a really good spot. I have a longer torso, so I feel like it's in a good spot to where it's like, it's kind of the perfect length for crop tops, so like it doesn't come down over my tube. But then because I still have a lot of torso left, high-waisted bottoms don't come up over the tube, so it's kind of going to depend on where your tube is. But I just wear like comfy leggings, oversized like sweat shorts or active shorts, and then oversized sweaters or little crop tank tops like this. This one's from Aerie, but then Free People as well has my favorites. Those are all the questions I'm going to be answering today. If you have any more questions, leave them down below. But I hope this video was helpful and informative. I think that's all I want to say. But just thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to give this video a like and a comment, and to subscribe for new videos every Saturday. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!